it kind of freaks her out.
Yeah.
Because she is a naturally raised.
Where is she from?
She is from Japan.
Japan.
So, yeah, she's from the Kobe, Osaka kind of Kobe prefecture, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah. Kind of a little random tidbit. My dad speaks fluent and reads only in German.
Really?
Yeah. He loves something about Germany.
Whoa. And he does not say Zaudergas?
He's never presented it to me that way.
Interesting.
So maybe I've just been lied to this whole time. By my father.
I go by Garbe because nobody can say Garbe. So it's Garbe.
But that sounds French, though. Garbe sounds a little French.
Garbe?
Yeah. Maybe it's just because my idea of French has always kind of been that way.
Je ne parle pas français, je suis allemand,
I got je m'appelle. Je me suis, whatever.
That means I don't speak French, I'm German. That's the only thing I can say,
Nice. My German is extent to the Du Hast song, but by Rammstein. It's some kind of...
I'm not a music person, so...
Shock jock German band makes metal, brings it over to the States with that hyper techno mixed with rock. Like, du hast mich.
Du hast mich.
You hate.
Du hast mich.
Yeah.
Du hast mich. It's love
but their
songs.
German band makes fun of America all the time.
Well, it goes both ways. German is such a harsh military language. Every time somebody says, I think German is cool, I want to learn German, my first response is, why? It's such a harsh military language. See, when somebody says in English, oh yeah, I didn't understand him, I believe it. No one says in German, I didn't understand what he said the first time. We have words to describe the craziest, smallest item to biggest item. There's not a lot of place for confusion in German. We have a word called die Streichholzkaste, which is a word that indicates the little box where you have matches in, but it's made out of wood, but it's the special little wooden box for,
really?
In one word, so there's...
And that was a whole description of a particular item. Now, I'm going to give this back to you. Mm-hmm. My wife's name in Japanese, I don't need to say her name, means a single piece of sand on the beach that causes the little bubbles. So I totally get what you're talking about.
Now I need to hear the word.
Off mic.
Really? Okay.
Private life, public life.
Embarrassed wife, unhappy life. Yes?
Yes, it is true. It is true. An unhappy Asian woman is the worst thing that I could possibly ask for.
Well, as long as we're not mentioning, how is your relationship with the in-laws?
It's a unique relationship. They love the fact that they really view me as the cowboy American because I'm doing the guerrilla radio podcasting.
Do they know this? The
podcasting?
No, do they know...
The openness? Mm-hmm. No. No.
They don't know the good stuff then.
No, actually not many people do know the good stuff because a lot of people just will hear things once and never remember because I'm not very full frontal with the whole bi talk.
Have you talked about it before?
No, on some podcasts here and there, but it's a passing notion.
And you're talking usually to straight men, right?
Yeah.
And they're uncomfortable.
No, they usually aren't because at this point in time, the people that I've kind of grown with as a community, if you know anything about me, when I was serving my time for my offenses that I gave the greater city of Orlando, basically, I decided that I was going to go to the center for 9 months and work my time and became a community service agent, basically, for them.
What did you do? I need to know.
I drove on the devil's juice. I drove on alcohol.
You have a DUI.
I have a DUI.
DUI.
But one in four Floridians have it, so I think of it as almost like a badge of approval.
I don't have a DUI. I never went to jail. And I went to work drunk as fuck, and I taught children.
There's some similarities too. I was a substitute teacher. And
drunk as fuck.
Maybe not as fuck, but hungover as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Sometimes I really wish I would have been that committed of being an alcoholic and having the vodka in the middle of the day.
I was a very committed
I could
alcoholic.
never do that. I suffered through the day only to make it to the evening. That was the worst part about being me.
No, but that's what we do. I mean, as soon as I got home, on the way home, I stopped at the liquor store, got either a 12-pack. I drank 12 beers a night.
What was your beer of preference?
Beer only, because that's the only thing I could afford. But I drank Coors because Paul Newman drank Coors. So I thought that was classy, because I was a classy alcoholic, Very
Right.
classy.
Mine was, the shitty thing about my alcoholism versus yours, because at the time you had to quit drinking, there was only the major brands, and there wasn't a lot of specifically like the whole craft beer movement hadn't come. I was trying different beers of different kinds every night until I found that very special one, and I stuck with it for so long at a higher alcohol percentage. And I really sat down and thought about this, because when you're fresh in recovery, you only think about the past a little bit, and then you're trying to say goodbye in your nice, kind ways, but you overanalyze things and look at it in the chaos.
Alcoholism, recovery, getting sober. Alcohol was the best relationship I had in my entire life. It was better than sex, better than friendships, better than movies.
It never let you down. It always lets you down.
It always works, because I drank not to think. I drink not to think. That was my motto. And then, of course, you get to the point where then all the emotions come out. I don't know what kind of a drunk you were.
Flushed.
I was
flushed with the pity, self-loathing, self-misery. Every song was a fucking emo song. I swear to God, My Chemical Romance was like the ultimate jam, and that's for our younger listeners. I know they're going to go, I totally feel what he's talking about with the Black Parade being the perfect album of my entire youth. Yeah, I did all the pathetic woes of me.
What that is all about is self-hate.
Yes.
I was not comfortable being a gay man. I had not really achieved much in my life at that point. I felt like a big disappointment to myself, to my parents, to my friends.
Fucking self-loathing is the worst.
And then alcohol was the one thing that always worked. And I come into a room of people in an organization that tells me over and over, you can't drink anymore, can't drink, find your higher power, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to mention the organization because I'm not allowed to talk about it. It got me sober.
Is it like Fight Club? Is it like Fight Club?
It's exactly like Fight Club. It is Fight Club, yes. And I got sober at Fight Club. The thing about it is, it works. And I'm not, but I want to say this. I have no idea how I got sober, because I was not a good member of Fight Club. I have been asked to leave Fight Club several times because I was making the other members uncomfortable.
Which happens in early sobriety. Because there's so much self-loathing and so much hate.
The first 10 years of my recovery were very, very difficult. Because the other thing I find out is that I don't believe in God. I don't. And, part of recovery is finding a higher power and this and that. And
so did you find what ended up being the thing that allowed you to stay that way? Did you ever find that idea of a higher power?
Yeah.
You did? I'm not working on it anymore.
You're not asking me what that was?
I'm not going to, because that's a very private thing. If you want to say it, then you're more than welcome to, because I know as a person like myself and being open, and there are some things that may cross that line.
You know what? I'm actually going to honor what you did right now. I'm going to keep that private. I thank you for that. I was going to do something shocking, but you're right. That would have been really dismissive to the whole. Oh, God. I remember there were 18 of us who entered AA together. And it makes me really sad because only 2 of us from that group are still sober. And most of them were very well behaved. They sat there in Fight Club and they were like, yes. And, meanwhile, I was like saying, what the fuck is going on here? Why are you talking about Jesus? I'm sitting next to a Muslim and a Jew. This is crazy. Instead of just shutting up and listening to the human stories, which is what it's all about.
Right.
And then it became Jerry Springer for me. When it became Jerry Springer, then it got good because I love Jerry Springer. And I realized, so this is like a live Jerry Springer show. I get to hear about your train wreck life, your train wreck life. And then I got it. But it took a while for it to get to that point. And now Fight Club is super easy for me.
Right. Okay.
And Fight Club is obviously not the correct word, but I'm not saying it.
We are not going to go down to the basement, and Boris is not going to tell me, why did you hit me in the ear?
That's right. And then it turns out to be me anyway, so then I have to kill you, so it's all good.
You spoiled Fight Club?
Oh, no.
What the fuck, man?
No.
All right. Yeah, where can we go from here?
Well, let's talk about the teaching, because I haven't
Sure,
really...
yeah.
So,
why did you want to become a teacher?
I didn't.
Did you get blindsided into it like I did?
No, I'm not even a teacher officially. So what happened is it was kind of it was a particularly dark period of my life, and I somehow got a job at a school called the Kenworthy School, run by these two wonderful women. Most of the bosses in my life. Still around? It's now called Lake Forest Prep.
Okay.
Was run by two women, wonderful women, and they gave me a job kind of as a gopher, going from class to class, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I needed a job so desperately.
You were the class babysitter for a little bit.
No, because I was delivering things to classrooms.
Oh, gotcha.
So then the Spanish teacher quit, and they said, Mr. Garbe, you speak Spanish. Can you, just teach Spanish? Because the way it worked is there were 18 classrooms at that point, starting with the 1.5-year-olds all the way to 5th grade, the 11-year-olds, and they had daily music, Spanish, physical education, and art. And so there was either a 15-minute Spanish class for the younger people or a half-hour Spanish class for the older kids. That's how the teachers had their breaks throughout the day.
Right.
They had 2 half-hours and 2 15 minutes. So basically, I guess what they were expecting me is to go into the classrooms with the TV card and play, movie for 15 minutes until they got a Spanish teacher. Well, everything that's good about me, everything that's brilliant, came right out. And
you showed up for the job that you wanted and didn't know that you wanted the job.
I wish it was that simple. It turns out I was really good at this. And then within 2 weeks, I found out that I can also keep the kids quiet. You saw the clip where I'm in a room by myself with 22 5-year-old demons. You saw how they behaved. Mm-hmm. I figured out
they were very docile, which is very unusual.
Unusual, right. It's like they should be making an Academy Award-nominated documentary about me, because I did that in every class, including 1.5-year-olds. I had at one point, I think it was 20 1.5-year-olds in diapers, some of them. Mm-hmm. And they were all quiet. They were all listening to me. And what happened is that I decided to teach, to learn sign language and teach them 2 languages simultaneously. So they would first, for example, the sign for house, I'm making the roof, and then the walls. And then I would say, this is house. In Spanish, this is casa, house. And then I would say to them, what's this? House. Who knows how, but I had like treats, Okay, good. That's easy. Who knows how to say what this means is in Spanish for a treat? And I was a brilliant teacher. I was really a brilliant teacher. And I just instinctively, because by that time I'd had to learn a foreign language twice.
Yeah.
I kind of knew what it took. Anyway, so the Orlando Sentinel wrote about me. PBS did a little thing on me. I mean, I've had a different career already.
Yeah.
I get a letter from this scientist in California. Her name is Dr. Francine Patterson. And she goes, Mr. Garbe, I saw your thing on PBS. I work with the gorillas Coco and Michael in Ndume. And she told me the whole story. And what it is she worked with these 3 gorillas that she had rescued. One of them was Coco, who had a vocabulary of over 1,000 signs. There was the second gorilla called Michael, who had much less vocabulary. And then there was Ndume, who didn't know any sign language.
Okay.
What she wanted to do is she wanted to mate Coco with Michael for them to have a child, and she wanted to see if the gorillas would sign to the baby. And so nothing had been happening because they didn't. By that time, she knew, this was early 2000s, that's not how gorillas mate. Gorillas mate actually in a very interesting way.
It's very primal, isn't it?
Yeah, there's the alpha is surrounded by about 20 females.